kind of part of our coaching sessions, we'd run through like what to expect in the interview, and I could actually give like template answers. And almost about 70–80% of the time, the questions we would discuss actually came up in the interviews. And once you've given that answer before, you know exactly what to say, and you know exactly what the interviews are going to ask you. So that really helped during the coaching sessions. It just gives you that confidence, and that that there's nothing new under the sun that you haven't seen before. So that was really helpful. So at the very beginning, I think within the first 2 weeks, I actually got really lucky in that my university, just as I started applying, had this fast track to a particular job that I wanted to get. So I got straight into the interview. The interview was going perfectly, and then towards the end of the interview, the interviewer said, "Do you have the right to work in the UK?" And I said no. And unfortunately, he said, "Oh, we don't hire people who don't have the right to work." So he was gutted for me as well, as much as I was gutted, because he was in the same. He completely understood the situation, and I thought that I could have probably got the job if I did have that right to work. So after that, I decided that I was going to actually try and focus my efforts and only apply to jobs that I truly felt that were willing to sponsor me. So to do this, I found it was quite difficult to actually like narrow those jobs, because if you go online and you look for different jobs, not all of them specify, and it's not very clear as to whether or not they sponsor international students. Then that's what took me to Grad Curious Coach. So I looked them up, because I was at the start, why I really wanted to do it was I just needed like a list. The coaching sessions weren't really in my mind. So once I got in contact with Grad Curious Coach, they provided me a list, and the coaching sessions were, at the start, I didn't really want to do them, but I was like, if I paid this much money, I might as well just see what it's all about. So during the first coaching session, I found it to be really useful, and I kept going. I took a lot from it, and I kept doing them even if I didn't have to. So I think the real value for me, what I got out, was the coaching sessions. They really helped me, because towards the end, I got so good at finding the jobs on my own. I didn't really need that list anymore. It was more the coaching sessions. And it was really useful as well to have someone to give you feedback and talk to, because not a lot of people, like around my social circle, understood what I was going through. So that was really helpful. And because she had so much experience, that was also quite good. I applied to around 20 different jobs. And after the 20 jobs, I got to about 5 telephone interviews, and from 5 telephone interviews, I got to 3 assessment centres. The first one I had was with a company called EY. That didn't go. I thought that went really well at the time, and looking back at it, it probably didn't go as well as I thought it did. The second one I had was with Network Rail. That went better than the first one, and then the third one I had was with Arup, which I thought was the most competitive and most difficult, but that actually ended up being the one I got. So it just shows that it doesn't really just keep moving forward no matter what. Like, it might seem quite difficult, the application process, but just keep trying and you get there. I had the assessment centre on a Thursday, and I got the job offer 2 days afterwards on the following Tuesday. I got a phone call. I was in complete shock when I got the phone call. So I was so happy and overwhelmed that I couldn't actually express how happy I was. And I probably came across as quite indifferent to the person on the other line of the phone. But it was probably the happiest thing I've ever experienced, at least in like the last 2 years. It was the feeling of like being offered the job is truly amazing. And it's worth all the pain that you go through. So it was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, so I would recommend Grad Curious Coach to other international students. The job list that they provided to me at the start, which is what I initially wanted from Grad Curious, was very useful in finding different jobs. And not only was it useful for those specific jobs, but it also gave me the type of companies that I could apply to in finding more jobs as well. And also the coaching sessions that were provided were very helpful, not just in interviews, but in also assessment centres and what to expect. The person that conducted my video sessions worked with people who had been to assessment centres, and she gave me a lot of tips that were quite useful. So yes, I would recommend that.